Okay, we're gonna be walking down Hennessy Street, and we're gonna be focusing on the issue of comparing COVID in Macau and Hong Kong and just zero COVID policy and my reflections of it as of this date, which is May 16, 2022. Things continue to change rapidly, so we'll kind of reflect on exactly what it is right now in this state, and I don't think it'll change anytime soon, the next month or two or three, but that's going to be our topic of this one. So stay tuned for that, and I'll be walking down Hennessy Street right here, Hennessy Road. 2022, filming Hong Kong, showing you all the streets, and I'll be walking around talking about COVID era, reflecting a little bit. I'm an expat that lives in Macau, just got over here, couldn't come over for a long time because of quarantines and different COVID restrictions, but now I'm here exploring the streets, and I'm going to be reflecting a lot about that and showing you a lot of content. So like, subscribe, make some comments below. Chiquinha, chiquinha, toma cuidado da movidinha, chiquinha. Okay, so we're going to be comparing Hong Kong and Macau. A lot of my viewers are in Macau, so they probably are aware of exactly what's going on in Macau. So I'm going to start with the Hong Kong part first. And as you may or may not know, I'm also going to highlight stuff as I see. Here's a noodle bar, looks pretty cool. Oh dang, I wanted to go to this computer zone too. It's on Hennessy Road, and actually it's one of my things to do today. Walk around and explore that. I still might do that later. But we're going to continue in our focus, which is comparing Macau and Hong Kong, and also just walking down the streets of Hong Kong and comparing it. And we're specifically focusing on COVID. So with COVID, both cities have the zero COVID policy. One thing that's been quite irritating to people who are stuck in Macau, like myself, or was stuck for 2.5 years because of COVID, is that everywhere I see in the media, people talk about how insane that it is that Hong Kong has these long quarantines, and how, you know, 14 days was completely unreasonable. Now it's 7 days, by the way. But for the longest time, for most of that 2.5 years, it was like 14 days Hong Kong, that's inhumane. But then in Macau, it was 14 minimum, but it was maximum 28. So I knew plenty of people that were in quarantine for 28 days. You know, so even now, as I was talking to somebody last night, an expat in Hong Kong, they were saying, oh, it's so unfair that, you know, I'm an expat, like I came over to Hong Kong on the exempt from quarantine because Macau there's no COVID, and so they have to come to Hong Kong for Macau residents. But of course it doesn't really bring many people over because they usually just go to the airport and move on, because let me kind of get through this a little bit. Usually people just move through real quick because you can't, it's impossible to do the 2 week, there's a Jollibee right there, the 2 week quarantine to come back to Macau. 14 days. But yeah, that was actually longer. But anyways, so one of the big differences between COVID in Macau and Hong Kong is the quarantines is a big one. And then number two is Macau has had almost zero COVID, and they're extremely strict with their zero COVID policy. And they've been a little bit relaxed about the vaccinations. I do want to talk about the comparison of that as well. But they're so loose on the vaccination part that that, you know, even though the vaccinations have existed for 1.5 years already out of the 2.5 years that COVID's been around, Macau has not been able to get people vaccinated to the degree that they could open up like Singapore or a lot of these other places. And one thing that Hong Kong has had similar issues, but right now there's this vaccine policy that you cannot enter into restaurants unless you're fully vaccinated. And I've experienced how hard it is. I couldn't go into restaurants until I proved my vaccination record, and I have that, and I've done it. So they verified it, now it's okay. But it's actually pretty interesting. I can feel like Hong Kong is on the end of the COVID spectrum, and that soon it'll be a distant memory. Here, I think someone was telling me last night that like there's only like 300 people that are I don't know, there's something about like 300 people, I don't know exactly the reference, that have COVID or just got COVID. So the numbers are quite low compared to a few months ago. And then you contrast that with Macau, which has no COVID and almost nobody's had it. The vaccination rates are okay, but for 1.5 years in, for having all the money that they have and all the power that they have. It's like such a small population, it's easy to, it's pretty inviting. It's really inviting. Unlocked lane. I'd like to walk up that one. This was our focus, but that looks pretty interesting as well. Just really love exploring streets, as you can tell. But anyways, Macau is like I don't know what to think, because I need to go back there, and I'm quite concerned that they're going to keep closing up even tighter and tighter and tighter. And actually, compared, you know, the media says Hong Kong is the strictest in the world, but actually it's Macau by a long shot, and it's going to continue to be Macau by a long shot, because there's a zero COVID policy, and they're so aggressive with putting people away who come into any contact, even with somebody who even gets exposed to it. You know, there's like somebody's on a bus, they'll put everybody that's ever ridden that bus into the same strict situation. Kinloch Lane. So basically I feel like Macau has a long ways to go to work its way through, and so it's a little bit pessimistic on the Macau side. In Hong Kong, I feel like being here right now, it feels very optimistic that it's going to be working its way through it, and soon COVID will be a non-issue, just like Singapore and America and Europe and pretty much everywhere else in the world. It feels like Hong Kong is on a trajectory that it'll be a post-issue, compared to China, which is going to be a big upcoming issue, and then Macau, it's going to be don't even want to think about it. I hope it doesn't affect me trying to get back. Anyways, let's end it right there. Okay, so hope you enjoyed another one of Hong Kong 2022, filming the streets in Hong Kong. Alright, so like, subscribe, leave some comments below. Chiquinha, chiquinha, toma cuidado da boquinha.